Okay, last free response question for this 2012 AP test. So question 6 says, for time greater than or equal to 0 and 12, a particle moves along the x-axis. The velocity of the particle at time t is given by v of t equals cosine pi 6t. The particle is at position x equals -2 at time equals 0. Now, on this year's AP exam, B will not be included because that was in their unit 8 as well as D. So we're just actually looking at A and C. So for part A, it says when between time equals 0 and 12 is the particle moving to the left, okay? So we know that the particle is moving to the left when our velocity is negative. So what we want to look for is when is v of t less than 0. So since v of t is actually a graph that we can look at, we can graph this, okay? So think about what that graph looks like. The period is 2 pi divided by pi 6. Which is 12. So that means we're going up by increments of 3. Okay, so notice between 3 and 9, our velocity function is negative, so that's telling us it's going left. From 0 to 3 and from 9 to 12, it's positive, so that's telling us it's going right. All it wants to know is when is it going left, and we would say that the particle moves left when t is between 9 and 3. And what is our units? There's no units. Nope. And then we'd say because v of t is less than 0 on that interval. Okay, so that's all you're going to do for A. We're not doing B because it's not going to be assessed because that was in their unit 8. So we'll go to step C. We definitely talked about that in class, part B. It's just taking the absolute value because you want to make sure for part B that your left movements of the particle are going to be counted in your distance. So that's all that's asking. And then C, find the acceleration of the particle at time t. Is the speed of the particle increasing, decreasing, or neither at time equals 4? Explain your reasoning. So first thing we want to do is use our velocity function, which is v of t equals cosine of pi 6. To find our acceleration function, we're going to find the first derivative of our velocity, and that will equal the derivative of cosine is negative sine, and we have to use chain rule here because the derivative of pi 6t is pi 6. So here's our acceleration function. Now it asks us to determine if the speed of the particle is increasing, decreasing, or neither at time equals 4. Explain your reasoning. So what we're going to do is we are going to look at our acceleration at time equals 4, as well as our velocity at time equals 4. So our acceleration at 4, it's negative pi 6 sine of pi 6 times 4, so that's 2 pi thirds, which will be negative let's sign it, root 3 over 2. So that's going to give us a negative pi radical 3 over 12, which is less than 0. And then v of 4, that is our cosine of pi 6 times 4, which is 2 pi thirds. Cosine of 2 pi thirds is a negative 1/2, which is also less than 0. So since both of those are less than 0, the speed is going to be increasing. So we will say the speed is increasing at time equals 4 because velocity and acceleration have the same sign.